Some background: I'm a 28-year-old woman engaged to a 34-year-old man, and together we have what you might call a blended family. From his past marriage, my fiancé has 2 daughters, aged 9 and 7. They are vibrant and full of energy, and although my journey with them began only recently, they have warmly accepted me as a part of their lives. On my end, I have a delightful 6-year-old son from a past relationship. He's the typical lively kid, with boundless curiosity and a smile that lights up the room. And together, we have built a nurturing home filled with laughter, learning, and a shared understanding that life is a patchwork of various past experiences and newfound bonds. A major twist in our tale came when we welcomed a new addition to our family. We have a beautiful 5-month-old baby boy who turned our world upside down in the most delightful way. His arrival was nothing short of a miracle, especially considering my fiancé had undergone a permanent procedure after the birth of his second daughter, intending to close the chapter on expanding his family. This was a mutual decision, one that seemed practical at that point in time. Imagine our surprise when, against all odds, we discovered we were expecting. While understandably stunned, we embraced the news with joy, gratitude, and a hint of disbelief. A subsequent examination revealed that although his sperm count was notably diminished, some were still viable, explaining our unexpected blessing. Our baby boy has since woven himself seamlessly into the fabric of our family life, cherished dearly by all of us. His presence brought a renewed sense of unity and adventure, knitting our patchwork family closer than ever before. But in opening our hearts to this little wonder, we unwittingly ignited a series of challenges that would test our newfound ties. Shortly after the birth of his second daughter, my fiancé had taken the step of undergoing a vasectomy. It was a decision made with a certain assurance that his family was complete, at least from his perspective at that time. We had both agreed that managing a household with 3 young children was already a full-time job. Adding to that, I wasn't exactly in the mindset for another tiny human. However, life, it seems, had different plans for us. The news of our baby boy's impending arrival hit us like a bolt from the blue. One day, there we were, managing our energetic trio of little ones, and the next, we were grappling with the mind-boggling reality that we were expecting yet again. Initially, there was shock and confusion as we tried to make sense of this seemingly miraculous conception. To quell our understandable bewilderment, my fiancé proceeded to get a sperm count check. The results were revealing. Although quite low, his sperm count was not entirely at 0. The few viable sperm were enough to catch us by surprise. Over time, our initial shock and apprehension transformed into acceptance and then joy. We celebrated this unexpected blessing and eagerly awaited the arrival of our newest family member. Yet, with joy came an unanticipated hurdle from outside our immediate family circle. When my fiancé's mother learned we were expecting, her reaction wasn't exactly the warm reception we had hoped for. Steeped in skepticism, she began asserting her own set of theories about our unexpected pregnancy. She questioned the possibility of conceiving post-vasectomy, suggesting rather outlandish ideas. Her skepticism grew into a firm belief that I had been unfaithful. Despite the beautiful miracle we were overjoyed to welcome, her relentless doubt cast a long shadow over our happiness, challenging the very foundation of the trust and understanding we had cherished. As the news of my pregnancy spread, instead of receiving joy or at least a warm welcome from my fiancé's mother, we were met with unrelenting doubt and suspicion. Her immediate reaction was to question not just the circumstances, but my integrity as well. She confidently proposed to my fiancé that infidelity was the only logical explanation for our news. It was a hurtful assumption, one that carried enough weight to potentially tear apart the trust within our household. With every opportunity, she tried to convince my fiancé of my supposed unfaithfulness. The suggestion wasn't a mere whisper of doubt. It was a persistent echo that began to not just scratch the surface, but deeply burrow into our family dynamic. She went as far as suggesting that my fiancé should distance himself from me until my pregnancy reached full term, and a paternity test could be performed to confirm her suspicions. Compounding the discomfort, she declared she had done her own brand of research, arriving at the conclusion that it was nearly impossible for us to have conceived after a vasectomy. Her findings seemed to support her stance, making it all the more challenging for us to navigate the turbulent waters of family tension. She was adamant that cheating was more plausible than the miracle of post-vasectomy conception. Despite our reassurances and logical explanations, she stood firm, doubling down with her demands. In her resolve, she communicated clearly that she would not acknowledge our son's existence until we went ahead with the test, marking a line in the sand. Her refusal to accept possibility over skepticism became more than just a family quarrel. It felt like a siege against my character. The rift grew, widening chasms that were difficult to bridge. Her decision to turn a joyful period in our lives into an interrogation set a heavy pall over what should have been a celebratory time for everyone. But her belief in this false narrative left us grappling with a challenge we weren't prepared to face, despite all the excitement surrounding our little boy's upcoming arrival. I stood up for myself and my family and told my mother-in-law that if she couldn't accept our son without a paternity test, then we were better off without her presence altogether. My fiancé and I resolved that our little boy didn't need anyone who doubted his place in this world. The joyous milestones which typically draw families closer, like the baby shower and visits at the hospital, were overshadowed by her refusal to acknowledge him without a DNA test. My mother-in-law, steadfast in her skepticism, decided not to attend any of these significant events. She didn't come to our baby shower, a day festive with balloons, laughter, and the air of love. She was conspicuously absent. There was no visit from her at the hospital when our son was born, a time we hoped would be surrounded by family support and tenderness. Even the simplest acts of connection, like sending a card after the birth of her grandson, were neglected, replaced instead with cold distance and silence. Time trudged on without her, but as months passed, it was clear she had been keeping tabs on family comings and goings. When she discovered that my own parents, who lived far away and visited sparingly because of pandemic concerns, had finally made the trip to meet their new grandchild, my mother-in-law's demeanor shifted. Outrage replaced her earlier indifference, and suddenly, she was accusing me of preventing her involvement in her grandson's life. Her insistence on me allowing her more access was belligerent, each word a prickly reminder of the earlier accusations she had so harshly thrown in my direction. She retorted that I was depriving our son of a doting grandmother and that many women would long for grandparents who wished to be involved. Ironically, her own actions and the hurtful words she once wielded were forgotten in this newfound cry for inclusion, a cry that seemed authored from a place of convenience rather than genuine love and acceptance. I told her she needs to apologize sincerely, and I emphasized that I need the time and space to heal from her harsh accusations. Her response, however, was far from what I had hoped for. She offered hollow rationalizations, claiming she was just trying to protect her son, insinuating that if the roles were reversed, I would have done the same. Her lack of genuine remorse left me cold. I stood firm in my resolve. No sorry, no access to our baby boy. The demands to be the bigger person echoed from various corners. Friends and well-meaning relatives chimed in, urging me to make peace and let bygones be bygones for the sake of family harmony. Yet, behind their words lay a dismissive undertone that invalidated the breach of trust I had endured. How could I simply move past a moment when my fidelity and integrity had been questioned so severely? Though weary and drained by the unyielding tension, I found myself at an impasse. Part of me longed for the simplicity of bygone days when family dynamics didn't feel like a strategic game of chess. But my heart refused to overlook the bitter seeds of doubt my mother-in-law had planted. There were walls between us now, built brick by emotional brick, and even though I knew it required energy to maintain them, I felt they were essential to preserving the dignity and respect I needed, both for myself and my family. The path to reconciliation seemed fraught with thorns. My fiancé was caught in the middle, clearly becoming uneasy with our ongoing arguments and being forced to choose between his mother and our little family. He stood by my side, agreeing that her behavior was far beyond acceptable, yet he also pushed for some form of compromise, believing it was the only way to bring this unpleasant chapter to a close. He understood the hurt I felt, but was realistic about the uphill battle of coaxing a genuine apology out of her. From his perspective, bridging the chasm meant meeting her halfway, a sentiment that left me torn. I was drawn between the need to uphold my principles and the desire to lift the emotional weight off his shoulders. Regardless, rumors of infidelity started circulating among his extended family, painting me with the unkind brush of suspicion. Half of them, it seemed, quietly entertained my mother-in-law's narrative, and I couldn't ignore the sting of their judgment. The complexity of this family saga felt overwhelming, leaving me to wade through a thick mire of mistrust and frustration.